Now we can reach.
Oh, shoot.
Oh, I was not ready.
Community advocacy speech and Superman. When it comes to growing old, we never really think it's going to happen to us. But then you blink, and before you know it, here we are with a life lived. So when we get older, there are normally some difficulties that come along with the aging process. And sometimes these difficulties can become too much for us to handle by ourselves. This is when we look to a long-term nursing care facility. Naturally, we want our nursing home to be the best possible environment that we can imagine, but we don't live in that ideal of a world. Along with the many perfect nursing homes in the world, there are also some really bad ones. What makes a nursing home good is not necessarily the building itself, but the nursing aides that are working inside of the building, or the CNAs. After becoming certified as a nursing aide myself, I have become aware of the many issues of abuse and neglect that happen on a daily basis. In an article, Signs of Nursing Abuse and Neglect, published by Nursing Home Alert in 2013, abuse is defined as an intentional infliction of injury, unreasonable confinement, intimidation, care or service deprivation or punishment that results in physical harm, pain, or mental anguish. Nursing homes are very important to our aging community, but some can be very abusive and neglectful to you or a loved one. Today, we will look at the importance of nursing homes to our aging community, the significance of nursing homes, the significance of nursing home problems, what causes abuse, and what we can do to solve the riddle of nursing home abuse. First, let's look at the importance of nursing home abuse to our aging. Let's look at the importance of nursing homes to our aging community. I always think how I would feel if I was the one that was dropping off my loved one at a nursing home. When you're dropping them off, you're normally putting all your trust in these CNAs to take care of your loved one in a way that you would hope to be taken care of. This is an extremely hard situation to put yourself in, and I know that I would be worried if that were my loved one I was dropping off. We are all going to come to a time in our life when getting older is the only thing left to do, and this means that nursing home facilities will be in high demand. According to statistics and data published by the National Center of Abuse, the United States in 2010 recorded that the greatest number of people aged 65 and older were rated at 40.3 million people, or 13% of our community. This boomer generation effect will continue for decades to come. So generations are getting older, people are living longer, and the greatest number of senior citizens is larger than it's ever been in the history of time. This means that we need reliable, safe, and nurturing nursing homes to rely on. And when there is abuse and neglect in these nursing homes, it only complicates the matter by making the patient and the family feel neglected and taken advantage of. Since there is a great demand for nursing homes, this brings me to looking more at the problems that come with an abusive nursing home. There is much harm that abuse has on the patient, physically, mentally, and spiritually. A lot of the time when a patient comes to a nursing home, they are cognitively impaired or physically disabled, making them completely dependent upon the CNA that is taking care of them. My nursing professor, Stacy McGill, told a story once of abuse that a CNA committed while bathing a patient. The nurse was bathing this elderly woman when she started to get impatient with how slow the elderly woman was moving while bathing herself. So instead, she thought it was a better idea to jerk the woman around, and eventually this left bruises and marks on the woman's body. This is an example of the physical abuse. Next, we can look at how this same bathing incident provided emotional abuse. Because the woman was jerked around and wasn't taken care of in a compassionate way, this proved to be emotional abuse, because the woman then felt taken advantage of and like she was worthless and couldn't do things on her own. She later went into a deep depression because she felt these same things, and this then is where the spiritual harm comes in. So you see, the the bad care is what causes these patients to not be in a good nursing home, and they then tend to not feel good about where they're living. One article called Nursing Home Abuse, published by the Nursing Home Abuse Center in 2010, says, "The thought of it is disturbing, but it does happen frequently. They are some of society's most vulnerable people, but senior citizens that perhaps are at their most vulnerable state when their living situations make it clear that they cannot defend themselves properly." Another author, Hawes, writes in Elder Abuse in Residential Long-Term Care Settings in 2003, "Many are either able to report an abuse or neglect because they are fearful that it will change the way that the CNAs are caring for them." Abuse is shocking and painful, but it does exist. Next, we'll look at the reasons why abuse occurs in the first place. Abuse is something that is never really understood by anybody who is appalled by it. Normally when somebody hears that there has been abuse, their first reaction is, how could somebody do that? How could you intentionally neglect an elderly person? But the truth is that it does happen. But why? Most of the time, in a good nursing home, you'll find that nurses have gone through extensive training and education to become CNAs that are working in the facility. But not all nursing homes require that nurses be certified as a CNA to work in the nursing home. This means that these nurses haven't spent the adequate amount of time being educated of how to deal with a difficult patient or how to treat patients with compassion. You don't have to be a certified nurse to know that you're abusing a patient, but the lack of education of how to deal with a difficult patient is missing whenever a CNA is not certified. A lot of the time, you'll find nurses who are committing abuse don't even have the characteristics that they need to be a good CNA. According to the 10 must-have characteristics of a CNA published by the CNA Classes Help in 2012, the list of qualities that make a good CNA are trustworthiness, compassion, professionalism, emotional stability, and a cheerful attitude. Registered nurse, professor, and CNA Stacy McGill says, "You have to have compassion, respect, and an understanding for all of your patients. Too many times I have seen CNAs that come to work every day just for the paycheck. And when the day's work gets tough, a paycheck isn't going to help you be nicer to that one difficult patient." Until more nursing homes require that all their nurses become certified, this problem will just continue. Now that we have looked at why abuse occurs, we can look at what we can do to help prevent abuse from happening in the future. Here's a picture of some of the patients that might have been abused. To make sure that this doesn't happen to you or your loved one, there is a list of things that you can do. Ted Sherwood at Sherwood McCormick and Robert Attorneys at Law in 2014 writes, "Family members play an important role when it comes to abuse or neglect. The loved ones whose family members come and visit on a regular basis, asking questions and demanding quality care, are less likely to suffer from abuse or neglect." The negatives to this is that there's no exact way that you can prove that there will never be abuse in a nursing home. But the good news is that there is a list of things that you can do to prevent it. Ted Sherwood also writes, "You can pay attention to the other patients. Do they look clean? Are they well fed? How are the nurses caring for them? You can watch the way the nurses interact with the patients. You can make sure that all the nurses are certified that are working in that nursing home facility." There is many more to this list, but the key is just to be aware and do your research before you send a loved one to a nursing home. The more time that you spend putting into the search of a good nursing home, the better chance your loved one is to having a better life in a nursing home. In conclusion, if you are aware of ways to prevent abuse in a nursing home, you can lessen the chance of a loved one being caught in a neglectful situation. In review, we looked at the ways that nursing homes are important to our aging community, the reasons behind why we should care about the abuse or neglect, and how we can be more aware of how to prevent this possible abuse. During the last couple years of life, the only thing that the patient should be feeling is a sense of peace, and just remembering their memories of a life well lived. In a quality nursing home, this can be available to you and your loved ones. So take the time, look for a good nursing home, and the satisfaction will come when you see how happy your loved one is living in a good nursing home. Okay, now, you're going to show the audience.
I haven't stopped it.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay.
Oh, that scared the crap out of me for a second. Okay.
Okay, stop it.